Zaldrizes buzdaris gosdau.
Winter is coming. Winter is here. I just watched like 10 clips of Jon Snow saying winter is coming, because that used to be my catchphrase before the long night. And I can't quite get the accent down as I used to, but that's besides the point. In this video, I want to discuss a real quick update on the Jon Snow show, where we are latest news-wise, and where we are in the whole like plot development of the show. Please, if you enjoy my content, do me a massive favor. This is the best thing you could ever do for anybody you're a fan of here on YouTube. Please subscribe. Also, if you're feeling so inclined and you enjoyed the video, slap a like on it. Like goal is going to be 420. Get it? Long night and winter is coming. Okay, so the latest news, right? The latest update, rather, is that Davos, the actor who played Davos, Liam Cunningham, wants to join the series. Supposedly he sent a text to Kit Harington and hasn't heard back yet, but he mentions in an interview that he did promoting his new film Dracula: The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which was pretty good. I watched it online. It was okay. His acting in it was impeccable. It's just the plot and premise of the movie was a little but he mentions that if the paycheck is large enough, he's down to come back. And remember, several months ago, I think last year at this point, Gwendolyn Christie said she's down to join the cast as well. So I think any of the characters that were left alive, right? Remember Arya Stark, Sansa, Breanne, a lot of those actors probably are willing to come back to the Jon Snow series if the money's right. Right? Now, what's really interesting about this series is this is not something that HBO sat down with George R. Martin to try to figure out how can we come up with a sequel to the original Game of Thrones series. This is something that Kit Harington himself has come up with. He had a meeting with Martin, and they kind of agreed that, yeah, this show should be pushed forward to HBO. HBO has mentioned that it's in the early development phases. So it's really exciting, in my opinion, that Kit Harington came up with this idea himself, and this wasn't just like a money grab for HBO. Like, obviously, Kit Harington is not known as being a writer. He has directed several things. He's not a world-renowned author. He's not an accomplished playwright or anything like that. But the fact that it's the dude who played the character, it means he's a fan of the series and he wants to see it continue in some light. Like, obviously, everybody needs money. I'm not saying that's not his motivation, right? But what I am saying is that it's really exciting from a fan perspective that Kit was the one who came up with the idea. Kit doesn't have to write the scripts, write the entire series. No, it's just his idea. So that's really, in my opinion, comforting that this series is going to be original, right? Because it's not something that Martin thought of, although I'm sure he's going to contribute heavily to it. I just think it's going to be a really good series. Also, I'm excited to see one of my favorite characters of all time back on screen again, because that obviously means I'm going to get to see my favorite character, hopefully, on screen again, Daenerys, right? If they decide to bring her back in for the series. So, as of June 2022, the show is still in early development, right? There's rumors that everybody knew this Writers Guild of America was going to strike, right? Obviously, that means SAG. So because of that, that's probably why the news about the Jon Snow show is kind of kept under wraps, right? HBO, Warner Brothers, Discovery is going to lose a crap ton of money. They probably already have, because they're not working, they're not putting out films, right? Dune, for some reason, Dune Part 2 was pushed back to freaking March of next year, which is insane, because I was literally looking in theaters to book my ticket. I'm a massive Dune fan. If you haven't seen my Dune content, check it out. It's here on YouTube, all on a playlist on my channel. But yeah, it seems like they kind of knew this was inevitable, and they wanted to keep stuff kind of under wraps about what future projects may be. And the fact that they're shutting down so many different things aside from House of the Dragon lets me know that HBO, Warner Bros. Discovery, they know that that's their cash, that's their main flow of income outside of DC and multiverse and what's happening with James Gunn, right? So as long as you got those two things, right, and also with the new Harry Potter show, right, you're going to have money coming in influx. And I feel like the Jon Snow show, even if it's just a one-off 10-episode, one-season series, it's still going to bring in money and be successful for HBO, right? Let's talk about some plot ideas. Like I said, this video wasn't going to be very long, but I've kind of compiled 4 different, or maybe 5 different things that I think the plot could be about, that I feel like are the most interesting, right? So the first one, and these first couple of ones are mostly based off of directly what happened to his character in the show. Obviously, the most fun thing would be is take undeveloped plot points, or developed plot points from the books that didn't make it to the TV series, and make this new show about that. So you're kind of, it's like a soft rehashing of certain things that went down in the Game of Thrones show, and just sort of retconning them for this new TV series, maybe expanding upon them slightly, right? So basically that would mean that the series would be about how, one of the ways rather, is that the series would be about how the wildlings went back to their old ways. Jon must then form an army and stop the old ways. Now, if you're unaware, wildlings raid south of the wall. They don't just steal weapons and armor. They steal women. They steal everything. They steal anything they can get their hands on, and then they carry them back north of the wall. And this is why a lot of the people south of the wall hate them. It's not just a prejudice thing. It's that they literally are scavengers. They reeve, but on land. So, like, the Ironborn people are hated in Westeros because they literally terrorize the coastline and steal stuff, steal women, steal weapons and crap, put it on, steal food, put it on their boats and just sail off. And they have the fastest ships in Westeros. So a lot of people hate the Ironborn because of that. It's the same reason why northern folks hate the wildlings, right? Like, some of it is prejudice for sure, but a lot of it is the fact that the wildlings are more of a savage culture, in the sense that they think like the Ironborn. Like, if you took something in battle, or if you stole something and bested your opponent in doing it, then that's the fair way to win it. Like, the Ironborn call it paying the iron price. Wildlings call it the way of life. So this is what the show would be about, right? So everything's good. The Night King's dead. The wildlings are north of the wall, but they're still, in their frozen tundra. Like, obviously there's going to be some greenlands up there now, but the wildlings are they just feel more comfortable going over the wall and stealing stuff. So the show will be about how Jon is already north of the wall. He will sort of have to become a leader, right? And form an army to stop the wildlings who aren't, following the North's rules, so to speak. I know that was kind of long-winded, but yeah, I think that would be really cool. One of the other ways is similar to that, but I'll talk about that later. This is my favorite plot. I feel like this one would be one of the most popular, although it wouldn't necessarily make the most sense because Breanne kind of, as long as he's in a weirwood tree, can't die either. But there's not a lot of weirwood trees in King's Landing. So my idea is that Jon has a son, right? And Breanne needs an heir, right? Breanne obviously is king right now, but he can't procreate himself, so he's going to need an heir. The next in line would be Jon Snow, but Jon doesn't want the Iron Throne, and he can't be the heir to someone who's younger than him. So, naturally, his son is chosen, and this Jon Snow series would be about Jon Snow traveling all through the Seven Kingdoms, south of the wall. Like, they start up north. It's like a 10-episode, one-season arc, and they travel to King's Landing. Jon gets there, and on the way, discovers that, what everybody else is up to. I don't know. Kind of a weak plot point, like I said. Let me know your thoughts about these down below in the comment section. And then another plot, this one's probably my least favorite because it retcons too much, but somehow the White Walkers have returned. And then Jon will become king in the north, right? Or, I'm sorry, the king beyond the wall, and then bring the wildlings back down south, right? Because the White Walkers are back beyond the wall, and Jon Snow must rescue his people. The problem is the new Night's Watch doesn't want them to come down south. So the show would be about Jon Snow battling the Night's Watch as king beyond the wall, and him wanting to resettle his people in the new gift. Now, like I said, that retcon, they literally had that plot point on the main TV series, is the Night's Watch didn't want the wildlings to settle in the new gift because that's their lands, and like, it's not something that they should just give away because they need to like farm there, or maybe have safety from the events that happen at the wall. So they're not a big fan of that, but the wildlings are sort of settled in the new gift until the end of the story, and Jon takes them back north of the wall. So this whole plot would be about him just wanting to get south of the wall, realizing that there's no way to truly destroy the Night King, but just by staying on the south side of the wall. And that's maybe the whole motivation behind the White Walkers, is they want their own land. The White Wildlings and the Night's Watch were invading their land, and the wildlings were getting too hectic and maybe not keeping up with their oaths of like sacrificing to the old gods or whatever, and they wanted them out. I don't know. going too deep down the rabbit hole there. And then another way is that, and this is kind of, I'd say at least the most interesting, kind of silly, right? But like I said, interesting. Jon Snow can't die. So since he can't die, the show actually takes place 100 years down the line, right? That gets rid of all of the characters that could be returning, right? If you haven't heard of Daenerys coming back to life in 100 years, then she never came back to life, right? All the other characters are dead. Sansa, Arya, Breanne, right? There's a new king. There's maybe the Lannisters are back in power or something, or maybe a Stark is king down south. None of that really matters. The main point is that it's 100 years down the line, right? And all the other characters, aside from Jon Snow, are dead. Jon Snow can't die. He's a Firewhite, right? Obviously, he's not going to be killed from old age, right? So the whole point of the show is that it's 100 years down the line, but Jon Snow must fight off a Targaryen invasion. Now, this is some new descendant or someone hailing from the Targaryen bloodline, whether it be from Blackfire or from maybe Daenerys did come back to life, have kids, and didn't want to invade Westeros, and this is one of her long, 100-year down the line descendants. But basically, this person is mounted on Drogon, and they are now leading the Golden Company and all the sellswords over in Essos into Westeros to attack and take the Iron Throne. So Jon Snow is called upon. He builds an army and goes and fights against whoever this new rider is on Drogon. Like, I feel like the idea of setting it in the future so that you get rid of all of the main characters aside from Kit Harington may be a good idea for HBO if they wanted to save money, because like I mentioned before, Liam Cunningham said he's not coming back unless the paycheck's big enough, and I'm sure a lot of the other actors probably feel that way as well. So if they maybe wanted to just make a Jon Snow solo focused series, they could do something like that. I don't know, but I feel like that idea is kind of terrible now that I've talked it out. Let me know what you all think, obviously, down below in the comment section. And then the last plot that I think this show could be about, the most obvious one, is the story just takes place a few years after the main one ended. Daenerys is back with all of her massive army with Drogon, and she's coming to wreak vengeance. The story will be about how Jon has to go and try to save everybody, but fails miserably, and then somehow the two of them, I guess, just die in each other's arms. I don't know. Like I said, this video was just for fun. But I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please slap a like on it. Like goal is going to be 420. Then also, if you're feeling so inclined, please subscribe. That's the best thing you could do for my channel. It really helps me out. Super special shout out to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/HunterReviews. And a super special shout out to you. Thank you, the viewer, for watching. You're amazing. I love you. And then also the executive producers of this video, big shout out to them. These videos wouldn't be possible without them. They are Destiny Phillips, Tyler Schnabel, Pebbles83, Breanne Johnson, and the North Must Remember. Along that, sa trisas pusdari x costaur. Winter is coming.